High up in the mountains here at Spielberg, it's time for qualifying on what will be the fastest laps of the season. Stand by for qualifying at the Austrian Grand Prix.
Fantastic, you've got pole position.
With qualifying wrapped up now, we have our... Welcome from the beautiful Styrian Mountains for another chapter in the story of the Austrian Grand Prix. It's one of the shortest laps on the calendar today then, with 7 rights and just 3 lefts, making up the 10 corners of this high-speed circuit. Turn 2 is barely a corner at all. They'll be flat out through there, a left-hand kink into the uphill braking zone of Turn 3. Turns 1, 3 and 4 are all potential opportunities to overtake. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Ace lines up on pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Norris, Leclerc, George Russell and Tsunoda, Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, Sainz and Alex Albon, Ocon, Piastri, Franco Colapinto and Lawson, Stroll, Hülkenberg, Pierre Gasly and Ollie Behrman. Hadja and Gabriel Bortoleto rounds off the grid. With preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track. And alongside me today, a man who I'm always pleased to see join me in the commentary box, Anthony Davidson. So much to talk about on what is such a short lap. It's the fastest lap times of the season, but that doesn't mean it's not a challenge.
It's a real challenge to get right this circuit. Lots of tight corners linked up with very long straights. You've got 3 DRS zones as well. That means that the racing is often very close, and you can hang on to potentially a faster car if you can stay within that 1 second buffer. But you've then got some higher speed corners like turn 6 and 7 in the middle of the track, and then the 2 final corners as well. Track limits. Yep, there we go. I mentioned it. Be careful.
Okay. Okay, DRS is now available. That was the fastest lap of the race. Keep this up. Well done. Okay, mate, we've got some clear track in front of us, and let's make the best of it. So please make this next one a very fast lap. Okay, nice work. Really good job with that target, mate. final lap, final lap. Push, push. Okay, final lap, let's go, final lap. Okay, radar is clear, weather is looking good for now. Okay, dries seem like the best tyre for now.
Fantastic drive with the slicks, fantastic. It's really awesome to be a witness of that.
A fantastic team effort then to secure victory here in the Styrian Alps.
And 11 wins in a row now marks a new record in Formula One. We are witnessing history in the making.
After an excellent performance at the Grand Prix, I'm sure there'll be plenty of celebrations tonight amongst the Mercedes team, and they certainly deserve it. Well, that was certainly an exciting weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for more exciting Formula One action.
It seems as if you have a new rival. This is the perfect opportunity to show the world why you belong in this sport, and to show me why you belong amongst my very exclusive clientele. That's a joke. I love working with you.
Welcome along, everybody, to a venue that was built for speed. Once an airfield, now one of the finest racetracks in the world. It's qualifying day here at Silverstone for the British Grand Prix.
Okay, good job, mate. Really, really well done. That was a fantastic drive. Bring it home.
Goodbye for now then, but really we're just getting started. Make sure... Welcome everyone as you join us at a former Second World War aircraft base, now converted into one of the great motor racing tracks. Britain is one of only 2 countries to have held a Grand Prix in every year of the Formula One World Championship, and long may that continue. This is Silverstone, and this is the British Grand Prix. With good opportunities to overtake at the end of the Wellington and Hangar Straights, there's a lot of potential for close action around the 3.6 miles of Silverstone circuit. With 18 corners and average lap speeds of around 145 miles per hour, it's also one of the longest and quickest circuits on the calendar. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Ace lines up on pole position. And starting next to them is George Russell. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Hamilton, Max Verstappen, and Fernando Alonso. Piastri, Tsunoda, Sainz, and Alex Albon. Hülkenberg, Bortoleto, Lance Stroll, and Ocon. Behrman, Norris, Isaac Hadjar, and Pierre Gasly. Lawson and Franco Colapinto rounds off the grid. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. And alongside me here today in the commentary box, Anthony Davidson. Let's look at their season, and particularly against their teammate. Fair to say they've got the better of them more often than not.
Yeah, they have. And, rule number one, beat your teammate. They're the one that share the same equipment as you. And yes, the cars can vary in setup from race to race and depending on who has which style. But essentially, they're your barometer, the yardstick. If you can beat them, that's the first job you have to do. And it looks like it's going their way, doesn't it? And they need to carry on this momentum, this energy through the rest of the season.
Okay, as you know, this is the team's home. Can now use DRS. DRS now available. Okay, mate. Right, we've got some clear track in front of us, so let's make best use of it and make the next lap a quick one. You got this. mate, you made that look easy. Nice work. That's why I love working with you. Smashed it. Good job. That was the fastest lap of the race so far.
Well driven, really. No.
Here we are then, a fantastic British Grand Prix, and what a performance it was from our race winners today.
To do it as a team on home soil, that really means something special, and you can see how much it means to them, the drivers involved as well. Great job by them today, of course, as always, but for the fans watching on too, a great display of teamwork here today.
Well, Mercedes are on top form once again after an excellent race weekend. It's great to see them up on that podium once again. And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport action. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back.
Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. And the track action will be getting Naomi Schiff alongside me. Before we focus on that, Naomi, I'd just like us to consider some of these big rumours that are circulating at the moment about driver moves up and down the paddock. Just how distracting is it to focus on putting in strong performances at the same time as negotiating your future?
Well, it can be a really big distraction, particularly for the drivers who are out of contract at the moment. And for them, it's going to be the challenge of managing what they're doing off track and compartmentalizing that from what happens on track, because we know that this next decision in their career is going to be a big one. So that can put a lot of pressure on your shoulders, but you don't want that to put so much pressure on your shoulders that you start overdriving, making mistakes, because you know in this sport, you can go from hero to zero in an instant.
I mean, you know, easier said than done, Anton. As we pass by a driver now who's considering their future, even if you've got a contract, they're not necessarily even worth the paper they're written on. You've got to keep putting in really big, impressive performances.
It's an industry that demands perfection from not just the team, but the drivers as well, first and foremost. So if you start to relax in any way, even if you have a multi-year deal in place, like you say, not worth the paper it's written on, because you can be kicked out before you know it. If the performances start to slip, the team will have their eye on you straight away and you'll be out the door.
So no room for complacency. Let's see who can put in some big performances on track today. All the action up next. Don't go anywhere.
High-speed straights, heady elevation changes and dramatic corners. What is there not to love about today? It's qualifying day here at Spa-Francorchamps.
Excellent lap. We're all very, very pleased with that one. Nice work. Come on, I'll see you back in the pits.
And that's it for sprint qualifying. Plenty more coming up over the... So it's all about speed in today's sprint. Not very many laps and no chance to get ahead on strategy. Who here today has the raw skill to take them to the top? Spa-Francorchamps today, a circuit that spans 4.35 miles. There are tons of elevation changes along the way too. 19 corners making up this circuit, with 9 of those to the right and the remaining 10 to the left. This track's a great one for fans of pure speed, and the average lap speed comes close to a whopping 145 miles per hour. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting sprint. Ace lines up on pole position, and it's Pierre Gasly in P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Albon, Franco Colapinto, and Russell, Bortoleto, Piastri, Ocon, and Lando Norris, Leclerc, Sainz, Fernando Alonso, and Hamilton, Tsunoda, Hadjar, Liam Lawson, and Nico Hülkenberg. Stroll and Ollie Behrman rounds off the grid. Which of these drivers will get pole position today? We'll soon find out. And alongside me in the commentary box today, a man who I always look up to, which is easier said than done, Anthony Davidson. Let's look at their season, and particularly against their teammate. Fair to say they've got the better of them more often than not.
Yeah, they have. And it's, rule number one, beat your teammate. They're the one that share the same equipment as you. And yes, the cars can vary in setup from race to race and depending on who has which style. But essentially, they're your barometer, the yardstick. If you can beat them, that's the first job you have to do. And it looks like it's going their way, doesn't it? And they need to carry on this momentum, this energy through the rest of the season.
DRS now enabled. DRS enabled. Okay, this is your final lap of the race.
Well, that's an end to the sprint action. Next up, high-speed straights, heady elevation changes and dramatic corners. What is there not to love about today? It's qualifying day here at Spa-Francorchamps.
Fantastic, you've got pole position.
Welcome then, as we take a step back into the nostalgic golden days of motorsport. Spa is unashamedly a throwback, and all the better for it. Climbs, drops, sharp turns, chicanes, sweeping high-speed corners, all while taking in some of the most beautiful scenery that Europe has to offer. This might sound like a travel brochure, but it's not. It's a race day. Welcome along to Spa-Francorchamps for the Belgian Grand Prix. Spa-Francorchamps then, a historic 19-corner circuit with a lap distance of 4.35 miles. There's over 100 metres of elevation change here, and with long stretches of the lap spent flat out, a good top speed will be vital for success. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Ace lines up on pole position, and Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Norris, Tsunoda, Esteban Ocon, and Leclerc, Piastri, Hamilton, Russell, and Carlos Sainz, Hülkenberg, Lawson, Pierre Gasly, and Albon, Fernando Alonso, Stroll, Isaac Hadjar, and Ollie Behrman. Colapinto rounds off the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. And striding into our commentary box to join us today, the man, the myth, the legend, Anthony Davidson. Let's look at their season, and particularly against their teammate. Fair to say they've got the better of them more often than not.
Yeah, they have, and it's, rule number one, beat your teammate. They're the one that share the same equipment as you. And yes, the cars can vary in setup from race to race and depending on who has which style. But essentially, they're your barometer, the yardstick. If you can beat them, that's the first job you have to do. And it looks like it's going their way, doesn't it? And they need to carry on this momentum, this energy through the rest of the season.
Okay, DRS is now available. That was the fastest lap of the race. Keep this up. Well done. Okay, mate, we've got some clear track around us now, so let's use it and make this next lap a quick one. Let's go. Great stuff. It looked like you made easy work of that target. Let's try and keep that going right through to the end of the race. Okay, you've just started the final lap of the race. Final lap. Okay, so we're leading our teammate by 21.1 seconds.
I couldn't have done it better.
A difficult race then on one of the all-time classic circuits, but they persevered to take the win here today.
A great display of dominance today, Crofty, by this driver. They led from lights out to the flag at the end, led every lap of the race. Brilliant stuff by them, and excited to see what more they can do in future races.
And I can see the drivers starting to approach the podium for the victory celebrations. A real team victory today. Everybody played their part. Congratulations then to Mercedes, your race winners. Well, what an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
The team are delighted you've been so loyal, declining all these meetings. They wanted me to tell you that they see you as key to the team going forward. Just don't get too comfy, otherwise I'll be out of a job.
No pit stops, no strategy. It's all about the pace today. Qualifying day here at the Hungaroring for the Hungarian Grand Prix.
Okay, good job, mate. Really, really well done. That was a fantastic drive. Bring it home.
With qualifying complete, all that remains now is the main event. We'll be live. It's race day in Budapest as we get ready for another round of Formula One action. We're not expecting too many retirements at this circuit. There are plenty of current and former drivers with flawless finish rates here. In particular, Ralf Schumacher, who made it across the line in all 10 of his Hungarian Grand Prix starts. The Hungaro ring, it's like Monaco without the boats, although the boats today could come in very handy. 14 corners, 6 to the left and 8 to the right, and some very tricky corners to deal with. These rainy conditions out there aren't going to help either, so it's very likely we'll see a safety car or two during today's race. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Ace lines up on pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Russell, Norris, Fernando Alonso and Leclerc, Tsunoda, Hamilton, Piastri and Alex Albon, Sainz, Lawson, Ollie Behrman and Hülkenberg, Stroll, Ocon, Pierre Gasly and Gabriel Bortoleto. Hadja and Franco Colapinto rounds off the grid. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today? And alongside me for the first time this season here in the commentary box, Naomi Schiff. Hello, Gnomes. We've heard all the rumours this week about this driver, and in the words of Joe Strummer, should I stay or should I go? And it seems, according to the rumours, they're staying.
It is a really interesting scenario. So this could mean two things. It could mean that they may have a better offer, or they've decided to stay with their team. So I really wonder today if we can tell by the driving style in the race whether they'll be showing off to maybe get someone's attention, or if they're going to take it a little bit more easy because they've got a secure situation going for them.
Okay, you know this, but this track needs a lot of downforce, and as such... Okay, mate, this is the final lap of the race. Final lap.
Really, really good. What a result.
And it's a performance to be proud of from our Hungarian Grand Prix winners.
There was never a moment of doubt today. You could tell that they completely had it under control, and that is a sign of greatness.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take the top spot, a well-earned victory for Mercedes. It's been an absolutely wild weekend of Formula One action. And if today's practice is just look at that sea of orange. No surprises if I tell you we're here in Holland at Zandvoort for the Max Verstappen celebration party. It's a quick track and perfect for high speeds, high stakes qualifying. Welcome along to the Dutch Grand Prix qualifying day.
Excellent lap. We're all very, very pleased with that one. Nice work. Come on, I'll see you back in the pits.
Well, that wraps up qualifying, but don't worry. Welcome along then to the North Sea coast and to the Zandvoort circuit. We're 25 miles away from Amsterdam for today's Dutch Grand Prix. It's a race the great Jim Clark won on 4 occasions, leading for an astonishing total of 370 laps. Zandvoort circuit has 14 corners, 10 to the right and 4 to the left, with plenty of steep camber and elevation changes to keep our drivers on their toes throughout the 2.6-mile lap. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Ace lines up on pole position. And Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Tsunoda, Leclerc, Fernando Alonso and Albon, Russell, Ocon, Norris and Oscar Piastri, Lawson, Hülkenberg and Sir Lewis Hamilton and Gasly, Behrman, Colapinto, Carlos Sainz and Isaac Hadjar, Stroll and Gabriel Bortoleto rounds off the grid. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today. And alongside me for this afternoon's commentary, Naomi Schiff. Good afternoon, Gnomes. Let's look at their season, and particularly against their teammate. Fair to say they've got the better of them more often than not.
Yes, for sure. It is never nice to be on the receiving end of that teammate battle, to be the one not winning. But for the driver who is on the upper hand, it's a real confidence boost because, as you know, the first job in Formula One is to beat your teammate. It is a team sport, but at the end of the day, that's the only driver on the grid that's got equal equipment to you. So it's the best indication of how you're doing. So for them, it's going to be a real confidence boost.
Okay, we're monitoring somewhere on the internal combustion engine. Be aware that we're going to start to see a loss of power. Now use DRS. DRS now available. Great work, that's a new fastest lap of the race. Okay mate, we've got some clear track in front of us and let's make the best of it. So please make this next one a very fast lap. Okay, really, really good. You hit that target nicely. There's a long way to go in this race, so let's keep it clean. Okay, mate, final lap. Keep your concentration and let's bring it home.
We couldn't wish for anything better.
What a great race then, and a magnificent victory here at the Dutch Grand Prix.
And it's one thing to win, but to win like that in total dominant style, that was a fantastic drive, and it is not one that we see very often.
After an excellent performance at the Grand Prix, I'm sure there'll be plenty of celebrations tonight amongst the Mercedes team, and they certainly deserve it. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time out? Be sure to join us once again as we continue to bring you all the excitement They call it the Temple of Speed, and the pilgrims have come to worship. It's all about the speed today. Qualifying awaits us. Welcome to Monza for the Italian Grand Prix.
Fantastic, you've got pole position.
With qualifying wrapped up now, we have our grid lineup for the big race tomorrow. Welcome to the home of the Parabolica, now known as the Curva Alboreto in tribute to the Italian motorsport legend Michele Alboreto. It's a long right-hander. It dares you to keep your foot as far down on the throttle as you possibly can. It's one of the great corners on the calendar, and we're here at Monza ahead of the Italian Grand Prix. With top speeds up to 215 and an average lap speed of around 155 miles per hour, Monza's reputation as one of the fastest circuits in the sport is well earned. We have 11 corners on this 3.6-mile track, with the best overtaking chance coming into the heavy braking zone of the Turn 1 chicane. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Ace lines up on pole position, and a very happy Carlos Sainz will start second. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Norris, Verstappen, Pierre Gasly and Piastri, Leclerc, Russell, Ocon and Lewis Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, Behrman, Nico Hülkenberg and Tsunoda, Albon, Bortoleto, Liam Lawson and Lance Stroll, Hadjar And Franco Colapinto rounds off the grid. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. And alongside me today is a man who needs no introduction, but I'll try anyway. It's Ant Davidson. Let's look at their season, and particularly against their teammate. Fair to say they've got the better of them more often than not.
Yeah, they have, and it's, rule number one, beat your teammate. They're the one that share the same equipment as you, and yes, the cars can vary in setup from race to race and depending on who has which style, but essentially they're your barometer, the yardstick. If you can beat them, that's the first job you have to do. And it looks like it's going their way, doesn't it? And they need to carry on this momentum, this energy through the rest of the season.
Right, mate, I know it's hot in that cockpit, believe. Okay, we're monitoring some wear on the internal combustion engine. Be aware that we're going to start to see a loss of power. DRS now enabled. DRS enabled. Okay, mate. Tyres are running hot, mate. Tyres are running hot. Please keep the temps down if you can. Okay, mate, that still wasn't quite what we needed, I'm afraid, but look, let's move on. Get your head down and chin up and focus till the end of the race. Final lap, push, push. Race wins in a row. This record is going to stand for a very long time. Well done.
Here we are then, a thoroughly deserved win in Italy after another excellent Grand Prix.
I mean, it looked like they were in a different category at points during the race, led every lap. I mean, what more can we say?
Well, Mercedes are on top form once again after an excellent race weekend. It's great to see them up on that podium once again. Well, that was certainly an exciting weekend of Formula
It seems as if you have a new rival. This is the perfect opportunity to show the world why you belong in this sport, and to show me why you belong amongst my very exclusive clientele. That's a joke. I love working with you.